Coach Dabo Swinney joins us. Coach, how's camp going for you so far?
It's been good. We actually broke camp Tuesday night. Guys started school yesterday, and we actually gave them the day off yesterday. Today, getting ready to go out and have our last scrimmage. It's our third big scrimmage, so it's kind of like our preseason games, if you will. So big day for a lot of these guys today, and then we'll start making some decisions or finalizing some decisions and really kind of move into the other phase of camp tomorrow and really get more into some game prep type stuff.
Coach, when Deshaun Watson entered the lineup kind of in the middle of the season last year, he gave you guys such a bolt of energy, and that air was let out of the balloon just a bit when he was injured. First of all, how healthy does he look, and how excited are you to get Deshaun back at the helm as your quarterback for this season?
Oh, we're excited. You know, he's great. He actually took the reins. I think it was third series of the third game, and he when he kind of took over, but you know had a couple of crazy injuries. So it was you know, disappointing because he played so well when he played. He played so well, and as a freshman, you're just kind of scratching your head because really just hadn't been around many guys like him with the aptitude that he has and his demeanor and leadership and just all the intangibles to go with the obvious skill that he has. But he's great. He's had a great 9+ months, 10 months of rehab and had an excellent camp, and he's chomping at the bit, getting ready to lead the Tigers once again.
Coach, we've heard people talk about linebacker university and running back university. Can we officially refer to Clemson now as wide receiver university? And when you go through the list, I remember going through the scouting, you get Sammy Watkins, DeAndre Hopkins, Martavis Bryant, the list goes on. And then over the summer, I start getting my preparation for the draft, and I see Mike Williams, and lo and behold, you got another one there, Coach. How are you finding and developing these receivers on such a consistent basis?
Well, I made my living coaching wideouts my whole career, so it's kind of, my background personally. We've always been able to get skilled guys here, but I think our brand of play, as far as how we spread the ball around, it's exciting. Guys want to be a part of it. Obviously, the success we've had with other guys, and you mentioned Mike Williams. He's going to be a junior, but. Probably back when we signed Sammy Watkins, Martavis Bryant, Adam Humphries, who's with the Bucks, and the best of those guys, the guy that was kind of the highest recruited guy, was a guy named Sharon Peak. And Sharon has kind of battled injuries and stuff, but he's our senior and easily the fastest guy. He's faster than Sammy, fastest guy we've had come through here probably since Jacoby Ford. He has been spectacular, and so we're all just kind of keeping our fingers crossed that this is the year that he can stay on the field and put it all together, because we think he has a chance to be special.
I love those stories of a guy that battles through, whether it's injury or adversity or even getting to a university in a non-traditional way. There was a video of you awarding a couple of scholarships earlier in camp, and I was a former walk-on coach, so this is my favorite part of college football, is when I see guys get awarded with a scholarship that they've worked literally their entire lives to get. Take us through that moment, and what is it like from your perspective getting to hand those out to the guys that just come to work day in and day out and get no love whatsoever?
Well, it is a special opportunity, and every time I get the chance to do that, it takes me back to my own personal experience and when Coach Stallings gave me a scholarship, and it's almost like I get to pay him back every time I get to reward a guy who's earned it. And and it's fun to see the team be so excited for one of their teammates. It's about $42,000 a year to go to Clemson, and we got some excellent walk-on guys, and we've got our starting punter, who's been around here grinding, our starting long snapper, who's a fifth-year guy, who's been a backup, and we had a couple of veteran guys that finally got out of here last year, and then we have a little receiver that we think has a chance to be a really special player that turned down some Division I offers, lower level, to come to Clemson because he felt like he was good enough, and now he's put the work in. He redshirted and has proven himself to be a guy that's going to help us, a kid named Hunter Renfro. So, it's fun when you got the opportunity to do that, and all of a sudden a guy didn't qualify, and then or another guy decides he wants to go somewhere else, and so next thing you know, you got a couple scholarships, and it's great to reward those guys that have truly worked for it and have earned the respect of their teammates.
Yeah, the thing I loved most about that video, Coach, is you said this just proves you can't judge a book by its cover, because this guy darn sure doesn't look like a football player. And then you gave him a scholarship. That was fantastic. You lose.
Yeah, he definitely looks like our trainer or something.
If you haven't seen the video, you've got to find the video.
As a Division I football player, but man, he can play.
I love it.
So we're really happy to be able to reward those guys.
Oh, that's fantastic. Coach, you lost so much on the defensive side of the ball in the draft last year, a couple first-round picks, a lot of talent. How does it look replacing all these guys that have left out the door?
Yeah, we got a bunch of guys that are in camps. I think we had about 13 or 14 guys from last year that are in camp somewhere. I think 11 of them were off the defense, so definitely some holes to fill. But our first group is really talented. Bunch of Shaq Lawson, for example, he might be the best defensive lineman we've signed here, and he backed up Vic Beasley last year, had more tackles than Vic Beasley. And to be honest with you, I think he's probably an all-around more complete guy. I think he's set to have a special year. So we've got enough good experience. Our first group, you're not going to notice a big drop-off, but our depth is very different. That's the key. We're talented, but we are very inexperienced from a depth standpoint, and that's going to be our biggest challenge is trying to grow some of those guys up and create that depth early so that we can have some help and some guys ready to play as we go through the long haul of the season. Whereas last year I didn't even pay attention who was in there half the time. We just rolled them in and out and wore people down. We're going to have that first group's going to have to play more snaps, and then we got to develop those young guys.
Coach, make the case for me for the ACC, looking at this year and why the champ, whether it's you or someone else, should go to the college football playoff.
Well, this conference has demonstrated, tremendous parity, first of all. I think we've had 2 years in a row, we've had 11 bowl teams. So it's not just a conference that's had 2 or 3 teams. This has been a very competitive league. You look at the NFL draft, we're just barely second behind the SEC as far as draft picks, but way out in front of any other league out there, way out front. And then you look at the non-conference matchups that we've had in this conference. We're in the last 5 BCS college football, playoff type of games. The ACC is 4-1 in those 5 matchups. We've beaten Oklahoma and LSU and Ohio State. We beat Ohio State. They were 24-1 when we played them in the Orange Bowl. So this conference, and that's not to say we're better. It's just from a conference standpoint, this is a very strong league, very competitive. That's why you see all these guys being drafted out of this league. So we hopefully can survive each other and produce a team that's worthy to get in that playoff. Hopefully it's Clemson. But I think that we've proven over the last few years that this is a conference that has really gotten strong and is really poised to make a run, in my opinion. You look at all the award winners that have come out of this conference in the last couple of years, and again, the first-round draft picks. I think we're the only team in the country that's had a first-round draft pick, 3 years in a row, a top 10 pick 2 years in a row. That just shows you the type of talent that we have in this league. Obviously, what Florida State has done, and I think there's several teams that are on the rise. So, we'll see, but we get a lot of talk about this conference stuff, and it's really, the conference is strong, and I think time will prove that out, but really it's about the program. And, we think that we've got a good program, and there's several other ones in this conference.
Coach, this is the last question for you, and you've got September 17th at Louisville, October 3rd against Notre Dame. I went to Appalachian State, so I would just ask you, I think it's probably a good idea if you just rest everybody up September 12th against App State and make sure you're nice and healthy before Louisville and Notre Dame. Are you with me on that?
Yeah, that's that same App State that went to Michigan in the Big House and won, right?
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
That's right.
Yeah, you're not going to slide those boys by us. They'll be a tough. I tell you, they got a lot of guys. I think they got like 20 out of their 22 starters back, and they'll be a tough challenge for us. There's no question. They'll be ready to play and excited. We're going to have to play well, and especially with the amount of youth we got on this team. Hopefully, we can, develop some of these guys these first few weeks.
Well, Coach, you got an exciting football team, and we wish you the best. And thank you so much for taking some time to join us here on the Rich Eisen Show. Thanks,
Appreciate it, Coach.
Yeah, glad to be with y'all. Have a good day.
All right, that's Coach Dabo Swinney.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.